How's everybody doing? So another question that commonly comes up, whether it's a direct question or just an implied question. And in fact, this question really, a variation of this comes up when I mention that I am a plant-based eater. I say a variation. The most common question that any plant-based eater gets from a non-plant-based eater is, where do you get your protein? That's the first thing that just about comes out of everybody's mouth. And just suffice it to say, I have no problem with that. But the next thing, as I've come to experience this situation, this discourse, that then comes to my mind is, well, I've got no problem getting my protein. My question for you is, where do you get your fiber? So I wanted to delve into that just a little bit. Why is fiber so important? Well, it really has a lot to do with a couple of major points. And the first one that everybody probably gets and understands is we want to have normal poop. Okay? Can't get around that. I mean, that's the first thing that anybody thinks of when we think about fiber, right? It makes us poop normal, makes us regular. I would offer you that is only scratching the surface of what fiber does for us. There's so much more to fiber that is so important. And we won't go into all the biochemical issues with that, but I do want to bring up a couple. I think that is one aspect of it, but where does fiber come from? Obviously, it's through all the fresh fruits and vegetables that we take in. We need to get the proper types of fiber. We need to kind of do what is referred to in the plant-based world as eat the rainbow. All these different fruits and vegetables, all the different colors and types and everything in our diet have different types of fiber. And why is that important? Well, as you might guess, we have an untold number of different types of bacteria in our normal natural microbiome. That's a term I'll kind of banter about here fairly regularly. The microbiome just means all the different types of germs that live in our intestinal tract. Back in the day, not a lot was thought about these things, but understanding through science has come over the last number of years about why is this so important? Well, each different germ have different things that they respond to in their environment. And so the different fibers that come from all the different foods affect each germ differently. Some types of fiber one germ thrives on, other types of fiber another one thrives on. And in order to maintain good health as a human, it's important to maintain a wide variety of healthy germs in our intestinal tract. And that's why it's so important to eat the rainbow. Well, what else does a diet full of good fiber do for us? Well, researchers now are looking at our microbiome and our intestinal tract as almost a second brain. I've heard that term thrown around. It's that important. And what happens when these germs come in contact with these types of fiber that they are able to digest, which we ourselves, without our normal microbiome, can't digest. These germs then digest these different fibers and create a wide variety of chemical communicators. The most common of which, I believe, would be termed short-chain fatty acids. And I won't go into the details of that other than to say that specifically there's been a lot of research with many of these that communicate with our whole body. These things affect our mood, they affect our cognitive function, they affect our hormones, they affect our immune system, pretty much everything in our body. And so if we have a diet that's extremely limited in the types of fiber we get, we're not going to function as well as we could. And in fact, it might even be a setup, and probably is. I don't know of a study that demonstrates a direct link, but it seems reasonable to assume that our ultimate acute health may even be affected. I think there's, with the function of the immune system, as a for instance, our immune system is always on the lookout. And not only on the lookout for germs, viruses, bacteria, funguses, things that don't belong, but also in terms of our own body doing its own changes. We have cancer cells popping up throughout our lifetime, and a good immune system will take care of those so we won't get cancer. Well, if our immune system isn't functioning the way it ought to, there's an increased risk of cancer. So I think the bottom line from all of this is to try to understand that how do we get all the fiber that's good for us? Again, in the plant-based world, there are some numbers kind of thrown around as a loose guide. And I would say that if we can get at least 7 different servings of different plants per day, and it's not as hard as it might sound, because a lot of spices and a lot of things will count as a plant-based serving. That's something that I won't go into today, but and then, so 7 different plants per day and 30 different plants per week. And I promise you, it's not as hard as it sounds. But if you have any questions, I'd love to discuss this with you in the clinic. And I think that's all for now.